Chronique, Anthropocène,
Anthropocene
Chronicle,
Anthropocene.
Bérénice Gagne. Drink or drive? Contrary to what you might think, I'm going to talk about water and oil. Last November, The Guardian has warned of water shortages affecting more than 3 billion people worldwide. In 20 years, the amount of fresh water available per person has decreased by 20%, and billions of people will face chronic food shortages. The article blames climate change, of course, as well as increased demand and what the author calls poor management. Not a single word about oil, though. Yet, the French organization Les Greniers d'Abondance, which brings together people from research and from the field to act on the food resilience of local areas, clearly demonstrates that the global food system is entirely dependent on oil. Besides, oil has a much more direct impact on the planet's freshwater supplies. It pollutes them. In October 2020, a journalist from Le Monde reported on the plans of the British Oil Company, which currently operates 2 oil wells in the town of Nonville, less than 70 kilometers south of Paris in France. The company plans to drill 10 more wells in the area of 2 groundwater catchments that are strategic for the water supply of the French capital. A geologist from the oil company tries to reassure by mentioning the cementing of the structure to guarantee the sealing of the drilling over time. Still, by turning our gaze towards Canada, we discover other devastating effects of oil exploitation. The oil industry is leaving behind an increasing number of remnants that go by the moving name of orphan wells, whose risk of leakage threatens the soil and the water table. Let's take a step back to understand what happens during drilling. To bring fossil fuels, oil or gas, to the surface, a company digs holes, sometimes hundreds of meters deep, and consolidates them with concrete and steel. When these wells are no longer in use, the company is required to clean them up by plugging it with cement and removing the top, such as pumps and pipes. After a well has been abandoned, the land can then be reclaimed. When it comes to orphan wells, there is no longer a company responsible for the high cost of cleanup. The slowdown in the growth of the fossil fuel sector has indeed caused bankruptcies. These orphaned or abandoned wells are not a handful of infrastructure left behind in the Canadian wilderness. There are nearly 94,000 in Alberta, 24,000 in Saskatchewan, and 10,000 in British Columbia. As the oil industry fails, taxpayers are likely to pay the bill, which could be as high as $100 billion. Without delay, the Saulteaux and West Moberly Lake First Nations in British Columbia are preparing to restore polluted land occupied by inactive wells. Radio-Canada reports on the work of Carmen Richter, a biologist with the Saulteaux First Nation, to revegetate wells with native plants. These plants decontaminate the land, but they also have a vocation to restore their original function. Ethnobotany thus makes it possible to reconstitute the use and function of the land in pre-colonial times, in particular by questioning the elders and the stories. This recovery to the natural state before oil is not a whim of a nostalgic indigenous community, but a way to ensure future food security. Another continent, another once colonized land, same grid for oil. According to The Conversation, Canadian oil company Recon Africa plans to explore for oil and gas in protected areas in southern Africa, Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. It will use conventional techniques and fracking. This latter technique threatens to pollute water resources in countries where fresh water is already scarce. Further north, Lake Chad is under threat. The Guardian reports that Chad's tourism and culture minister wrote to UNESCO last September asking to postpone the process of registering Lake Chad on the World Heritage List in order to explore oil and mining opportunities in the region. Lake Chad is home to 45 million people and provides them with water and resources. Its surface area has been drastically reduced since the 70s due to drought and increased irrigation needs because of population growth. Exploration projects for fossil fuels have come at a bad time. Studies conducted as part of the World Heritage application had revealed an increase in the size of the lake in recent years. The oil industry's entry may also exacerbate tensions in the region. An analysis published by The Conversation highlights the role of the shrinking Lake Chad in its instability. It is causing a loss of livelihoods, encouraging crime, migration to urban centers, making it easier for terrorist groups to recruit. Management of the shrinking lake has caused conflicts among the states that depend on it, and this has made it more difficult for them to collectively fight insecurity in the region. The lake is central to regional stability. To achieve peace, countries should focus on reviving the water body rather than on military activities. This conclusion is similar to that of a Novetic paper on the effects of climate change on armies. Access to fresh water is already a significant factor of instability and will pose a major global security problem by 2030. However, nothing seems to stop our frantic quest for oil. The New Republic revealed that the US oil giant ExxonMobil has recently planned to increase its carbon dioxide emissions 17% by 2025, while doubling its earnings. Recently, the online science magazine Phys.org announced the start of the gigantic Vostok project in the Arctic by the also gigantic Russian oil company Rosneft. It has been forecast to create 130,000 jobs, including the construction of a 770-kilometer oil pipeline and a port. Vostok project should allow access to estimated reserves of around 5 billion tons of oil. However, the Arctic is not what it used to be. This vast reservoir of fresh water is melting. In Alaska, the American oil company ConocoPhillips, which wanted to pump 160,000 more barrels of oil each day, had to face the consequences of global warming, which is particularly strong in the Arctic and largely caused by the oil industry. The thawing of the permafrost was threatening its infrastructures.
No problem, we'll fix it.
Engineers found the solution: an energy-intensive ground cooling device. Just think about it. Find all the references and much more on Anthropocene 2050 website. See you next week.